Katy on. That's more like it. All right. Katy it is. Hey. How you doing?
Hey,
How's it going?
good. How are you?
I'm liking the new background. So you've been working on some lighting and some decoration?
Yeah, I went into the Christmas tree box and I picked out Christmas tree lights.
I like it.
I'm not afraid to admit how ghetto my setup is.
No, I like the warm setting. Even though mine isn't that warm, it kind of looks cold behind me because I'm trying to look at, the typical hacker in the basement. But I like the warm settings in videos when I see people have the warm, yellow lights in the back. Looks pretty good.
You can only be a real hacker if you have purple in the background, though.
Yeah.
That's the key to being a good hacker.
And I gotta have the hoodie up here too, so people could see
I've got
my black hoodie on. You are fitting into the model.
I picked my outfit specifically. I was like,
gonna
okay,
say.
black hoodie, GitHub security t-shirt from 702.
Man,
Yeah,
making
man,
me
gotta
miss these
go
events.
full on.
Making me feel like I'm missing these events again. It's been a while since we've been at an event.
Oh my God, yeah. It's been really cool actually to see the hype surrounding the event this like past week. It's
Yeah.
been crazy. I haven't been hacking, but a bunch of people from my community have been hacking. So it's been really cool to see the kind of online live hacking experience. There's definitely a great community that's being built up as well.
So before we jump into the interview, just for some awful reason, if people don't know who you are, give me a TLDR. Who are you? What do you do? How long have you been doing bug bounties for?
So my name is Katy. I'm also known as Insider PhD, not Insider PHP, not inside a PhD, but Insider PhD. And what I do is I call myself an occasional bug bounty hunter, full-time PhD student, and I make educational videos teaching people how to get into specifically bug bounties on YouTube, kind of like how you yourself do. And I've made like a ton of videos, like more on kind of the academic lecture style than the kind of more casual side. And I've been doing bug bounties since June 2019. I found my first bug at HackerOne live event as a HackerOne mentee.
So let's talk about that a little bit. How did you hear about the live hacking events? How'd you get involved? Give me the background story.
Oh,
Give me the scoop, Katy.
so when I was at university, doing my undergraduate degree, I was really involved in the kind of hackathon community.
Okay.
So I have a lot of friends, and after university, they kind of dispersed all over. So a bunch of people were like, "Oh my God, there's this thing that's going around all of the meetups in London to be a mentee at this HackerOne event." And I knew people in the bug bounty community. I went to university with a few people who are now bug bounty hunters or who are involved in with HackerOne.
Okay.
And I was like, no, thank you. I don't want to do hacking. It's not for me. So after turning it down, what most people would think was a once in a lifetime opportunity, but I didn't know because I didn't really understand. I got some peer pressure, and I'm like, oh, we'll do like a university meetup again. It would just be like old times, and that's what finally did it. So I went along to London for the day, and I was like, I remember going on the train on the way to London going, I'm not going to find anything. But you know what? I'm going to have a good time while I don't find anything.
Okay.
And it's going to be an amazing experience. And about 3 to 4 hours in, I'd found a bug. I'd never done any kind of hacking before. No background in cybersecurity. Never used burp. Never ever done any kind of hacking. And then within the first 4 hours, I'd found a bug. And then by the end of the event, I found 2 bugs. And then I was invited to go to Vegas, and I found 2 more bugs. And it was at that point that I realized this probably wasn't a fluke, and I might actually be quite good at this. But yeah,
who was your
I've been to,
mentor the first time? Was it Brocious?
yeah.
Okay.
Cody, who now goes by Sarah,
Yeah.
is amazing, and less for the technical expertise, but more Americans are just so encouraging. And she was right behind me going, yeah, you can do it. You got this. You're
Yeah.
amazing. We were so close. And I had Tiffany, who was running the mentoring program. She was like coming by to see how well I was doing. And at that point, I was like, well, I can't let all of these people down. They believe in me.
And your first bug was at the London event, or was it at the Vegas event? Your second bug
Our
was at
first bug was
Vegas.
in London.
Okay.
So two bugs in London, 2 bugs in Vegas, and then like 30 in LA or something like that.
Wow, very nice. Oh yeah, that's right. You did a panel at LA too with for the
Yes.
community day. I remember that. Okay, very
Yeah.
cool. Well, let's talk about the journey of you. We talked about how you got involved and what piqued your interest. How did you start learning these things? So you said about a year or two ago you didn't really do any hacking, and what got you to learn? How did you learn these things? Like, how did you? You talked about IDOR recently. You did, API fuzzing videos. How did you learn these topics before you even started teaching them? Because it's got to be very hard for you to teach something where my whole thing is like, I say you're not good enough at something until you can explain it to somebody else. Right? Like, if you're comfortable enough to explain to somebody is when you have learned that topic, right? So how did you go from not knowing a particular topic? How do you learn something that looks interesting, a challenge for that you want to learn? How does that process look like to you?
So I should clarify this statement with something and say that I never had that situation, which I think a lot of people go through, where they look up to bug bounty hunters and think I could never be like them.
Okay.
And I think not knowing anything about bug bounty before I actually found my first bug, or not knowing much about bug bounty, I knew of it, but not really.
Okay.
I hadn't have heard of the big hackers before I'd met them in real life for the first time, which I think is it's both a negative and a positive. In the positive sense, it means I never really felt like I couldn't do it. I was just like, oh yeah, I'll give this a shot. I can do this. I think a lot of people think you have to get this critical knowledge mass of I need to know this and this and this, and I need to have expert level knowledge in everything. And you really don't need that. You really do, you really just need the basics. Once you have the basics down, you're ready to start bug hunting. You will learn so much just by finding bugs, and actually learning about not just seeing the theoretical thing of like how to hack an API, actually hacking an API. And that's how I learned. I learned by doing. All of the videos I talked about are all things that I use in my kind of regular practice, or they're bugs that I found. Apart from XSS, before I'd made the XSS video, I hadn't found one on a real target. But apart from that one, everyone else, all the other videos I found bugs on. I've hunted for those bugs. I've used those techniques. So quite a lot of making a video perhaps ends up being in kind of my learning process. As I learn something, I like to practically play around with it, mess around with it. Can I find a bug with this? And kind of be that always experimenting, I guess. So I don't really think you need a critical mass even to teach this, because I certainly don't know what I'm doing. I know a little bit about what I'm doing, but I'm not an expert. And that's kind of a freeing thought.
Right.
That I don't have to be an expert. I just have to experiment with it. And part of my learning process is just hack stuff. Just hack all of the things. You don't need to be an expert. Just start hacking.
Yeah, so you take the approach of, okay, I want to learn this thing. I'm going to go learn the basics. What makes this bug? How does it work? And then go and practice on the target.
Pretty much, yeah. And quite a lot of it is learning the signs of a bug. So if I know, okay, that means I'm thinking IDOR, I can then go and research more about, okay, so here's how I might do this kind of, or here's how I might do a permission level IDOR, and here's how I might do unauthorized versus authorized levels of different types of techniques in particular.
So give me an example, like for IDOR specifically. Do you have a specific program that you select to learn these things? Like I suggest people to do IBM, GM, DoD because they're free real estate, right? What's your approach when you want to learn something?
So quite a lot of my experience in hacking when I was a beginner was at live hacking events. So I just hacked whatever the target was on live hacking events, right? If it's Uber, I'm hacking on Uber. If it's Verizon, I'm hacking on Verizon. So I kind of just wing it a little bit. I just pick, a program that interests me. I might see something that appears in my inbox one day and go, yeah, that sounds fun. That sounds cool. I'll look at that. I never really have a kind of program I focus on because I just like to do all kinds of things. I just follow where my interests lead, really.
Yeah. Okay. How do you pick your? Someone just asked, how do you pick your target? So I assume it's mostly from life hacking events or whatever piques your interest, based on what you have said so
Yeah,
far.
I have a few other requirements of targets that I hack. A lot of which are to do with level of support. So I like to work with programs that will eventually reply to me. There are a few programs which I think I don't have to name because I'm pretty sure most people in the community know of the kind of programs I'm talking about when I say, you might not hear back for 6 months for a first triage on some programs, and then you're being in a position where you're like, oh, they don't really care about my bug. So I like to work with companies and organizations that are really receptive to hackers, that are wanting hackers to be involved, that don't see them as a burden, that encourage them. I mean, Verizon is a great example of like the very high end of that spectrum where they are super involved in their hackers. They're really excited. They want people to hack for them, and it's really obvious that the level of support they have for people hacking on them.
Okay. Give me one sec. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, my computer is freezing up. It's my freaking mouse. Jesus, it scared the crap out of me. I thought my stream's about to go down, but it's just my mouse that just died. Whew. All right.
Technology just
Mini heart attack right there. All right. So let's talk about about your background. You are a PhD candidate.
Yep. I finish in February of next year. I'm literally writing up my thesis now.
Cool. How has your school helped you with bug bounties, if anything? I want to hear the background. Like, is it helpful? Do you think it's a requirement for you to, go to school in order to become successful in bug hunting? Is that even applicable?
Oh, I have so many thoughts on this. Okay, so there's two things. One, I think the best thing about universities in particular is that university exposes you to a lot of people you wouldn't ordinarily meet.
Okay.
If you're thinking like, oh, all of my friends are bug bounty or hunters or want to be going to bug bounties, you really don't see that kind of wide range of people. Like, I went to university with people who are bug hunters, but also people who are developers, who are data scientists, who ended up not even working in computer science because they found out it wasn't for them during university.
Definitely me.
Like, I found so many times, like during my degree, that I was exposed to people I wouldn't normally speak to, wouldn't normally interact with, and that's been great for me because I know so many people now, and I know so many people in lots of different situations than the one I'm in. Now, I will clarify the fact that I do have a degree, and degrees are very, very expensive,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a lot of money to meet people and network. And I can't say that a degree is something you need for doing bug bounties, but I will say it's an amazing experience if it's the kind of way you want to learn. Not everyone learns very well in a degree setting where you have lectures and assignments and you
Right.
have to keep up with everything. Um, but it exposes you to a lot of different like topics, a lot of different people. You end up getting like things like student hackathons, which were a big thing for me when I was at university, is building software very, very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I got exposed to a lot of programming languages. It does also mean I have a piece of paper with somebody else's signature on it saying, yes, Katie knows what she's talking about, which turns out to be quite an advantage when applying for a job
Okay.
because people will look at that and go, ah, yes, somebody else signed that piece of paper, so you must be qualified. Regardless about whether or not that's true, it does certainly make the job hunting process a little bit easier. And doing a PhD, while definitely not for everyone, because I'm sure not everybody wants a PhD to start with, um, I think that the way it changes how you think about the world and the kind of where your work fits into the wider world was actually really useful for me. I learned a ton about time management, and managing like my workload and managing literally so much
Right.
about managing a big project.
Gives
So
you
I think
soft
it's
skills. It
invaluable.
gives you a lot of good soft skills.
Yeah, for sure. Like research, teaching.
Yeah.
There's a reason why my videos are slideshows.
What about certificates? Do you have any certs? Do you have any offensive security certs? Anything like that? What do you think? What is your take on it?
No.
Don't feel, but I don't
I
either. So
think
it's not. I don't think it's necessary, but I want to hear your thoughts on it.
I don't think it's necessary.
Okay.
I think the same as a degree, it's useful to have somebody else sign a piece of paper and say, yes, that person knows what they're talking about, and we know that
Yeah.
because they didn't sign the piece of paper themselves.
Credentials.
Um, but I don't think anybody needs to pay money to be successful in security.
Okay.
And that's kind of something, degree or certificate, I'm quite firm on, is that you don't need to buy an expensive certificate. You don't need to pay for a degree. There are lots of routes into security that aren't certifications or aren't degree related. And I think that makes this industry really kind of exciting. That really, if you want to join it, hard work will get you a long way there, more than having a piece of paper somebody else has signed.
Okay. And then we talked about the school. We talked about certs. And here's a golden next question. What about coding when it comes to bug bounty? Maybe not security so much, but bug bounties mostly.
Okay, this is where I start to have a bit of a controversial opinion.
Okay.
Learning how to program will really, really help you. It's certainly not a requirement, and people like Stoke, especially,
Okay.
have gotten really far without having any programming knowledge. However, it's kind of a cheat code. Developers understand how code and is written, and like I myself have a developer background. Before when I finished my degree, before I started my PhD, I was a developer and a data scientist. Um, so quite a lot of like my professional experience has been in programming, not security. So when I look at a API, and part of the reasons why I found like my first bug, in fact, was because I could see how I would build that software, and I could look at it and go, hang on a second, I wouldn't build it this way, or here's where I would leave a bug in if I were building this, and kind of the weirdness that surrounds it. I think if you've done any kind of development, you can really notice the flaws other people make in their code because you've made it before, and you know for sure your code is vulnerable.
Do you think for new bug hunters that are watching this and want to get into bug bounties, do you have a recommendation personally for any languages you think would be beneficial for them to learn?
Um, Usually you're going to be interacting with the web. Pick a web language. But if
Okay.
you don't want to pick a web language, then pick whatever will make getting into programming easier for you. Don't make it a barrier for yourself. Like if you already know Python, don't go pick up PHP. Go and
Yeah.
stick in a Python environment. If you have learned C sharp before and you don't want to do ASP, then just stick with C sharp without ASP. Like you really don't need to be put in a position where you're making it something you don't want to learn and don't want to do just to do bug bounties. It's just not worth it.
X says, in fact, don't pick up PHP at all.
I'm actually like, I think a few of my followers will know that all of my labs are built in PHP, and it's the bane of my followers' existence. If they want to download my labs, they have to use PHP.
um, let's talk about some hacking. Do you do a lot of recon?
Okay. Um, so it's something I'm trying to do more of. I'm very much. I remember during the Uber Live event, Cody, who now goes by Sarah, um, was like, "Yeah, just click every button." That is 100% my recon approach. Though I am trying really hard
She's right, though.
to make. Yeah, she is. To be fair. um, I'm trying really hard now. I do a lot more fuzzing. I'm
Okay.
currently actually working on a suite of machine learning tools to help kind of do some more of the recon, especially for API testing, because I think API enumeration is still so difficult. I'm looking at creating some ML powered tools to make that a little bit easier.
What tools do you use?
Big fan of FFUF. Big fan of Burp. And that's it. I don't use a lot of other tools. I'm very much a kind of learn a tool really, really well,
Okay.
rather than learning like a bunch of different tools sort of well. I think
Okay.
it's much better to have that kind of deep knowledge rather than that um, kind of broad knowledge of a bunch of different tools.
So you said burp, fuff. That's it.
Yeah, pretty much. As part of my normal hacking, like there's always tools I'm learning. I'm currently learning Postman, um, but uh, for like my actual hacking toolbox, that is what it contains at the moment.
That's fair. I mean, you can practically do everything with both fuff and burp.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, I only really use FFUF now just because it's a lot quicker, I think. And because I'm getting, and my followers will know this, I'm getting more used to the command line. Not big fan of the command line yet.
oh, you
Um,
gotta use it.
it's
Yeah, it gives you a big advantage when you get used to it.
Yeah, for sure. I am definitely noticing like I feel a lot more confident now than I did like even a few months ago. Um, but yeah, FFUF and really that kind of command line, getting the results into JSON and then passing the JSON myself has been a big part of my methodology now.
Hmm. Okay. Um, what about routine wise? Like, how do you balance your life? So, because you just mentioned a few times you make content, you're doing school, you're doing hacking, you're learning, you're teaching. How do you balance it?
So this has been a question I get asked a lot just in general. And this is what my organizational system looks like. I don't know if that's showing well up
Oh, I
on
can see that.
camera.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
currently working on a video on it. So
Okay.
it has a lot of moving parts, but there's some primary parts of it. One is every single time that I'm working on a project, I know what my next action is.
Okay.
So that's part one. It's never having that situation where I'm like, oh, I don't know what I should be working on. I always know what the next thing I need to do is. The second part is time management on top of that. It's knowing I am a kind of crazy person who has every hour of their day scheduled for like a big task. So between 8:30 and 10 o'clock, I'm writing my thesis. And then within that, I then have my kind of individual tasks like write this many words, work on that section, whatever. If I'm hacking, it's like, okay, step one is going to be do my kind of overall assessment, start writing down interesting endpoints,
Hmm.
etc. So then on top of that, it's just working really hard. And unfortunately, if you want to have something where you're juggling several different things at once, part of that is going to be in um, working hard and trying not to get too distracted, taking breaks. But when you're working, you are on, and you're not getting distracted because you've gotten a message on Twitter or somebody's liked something on Facebook. You are in the zone.
Well, how do you avoid those distractions?
I control my notifications. I get no notifications. And the apps that are allowed to notify me is my medication and text because they're usually from my fiance or my mother.
Okay.
And my mom doesn't like I ignore her messages, much like I think most people's parents. But that's it. Those are the only. Everything else, I have to choose to look at notifications. If I'm on Twitter, it's because I've chosen to be there. The app hasn't drawn me in with its promises of so and so liked your tweet or so and so are now following you.
Yeah, I deleted Twitter, and just literally today I installed it. I'm not even logged in. I don't know if you can see it on the stream, but I'm not even logged into my own Twitter app. I deleted it because of how distracting it was. Um,
It's just getting it's turning off the tap because it's designed to get you to click on it.
hmm
100%. There's red notification, bloody icons, um, things that get sent to your phone and any other devices you own, computer, tablet, watch, just bombarding you with notifications. You just got to turn it off.
Yeah, I mean it's hard to get rid of the like social media aspect of it, especially when that's how you communicate to your fan base, your followers, whatever. But yeah, I mean, Twitter, especially when you're getting, you post something new all day long, you're gonna get those notifications popping up.
Hmm.
Um,
I think it's especially true once you start to build up a following as well. Because like if I'm looking at Discord, it's to talk to my fans, but then I'm not opening Discord when I'm trying to work. It's very much I'm allowed my little endorphin rush after
yeah,
after I've done working.
yeah. I mean, it's. I mean, I struggle with distractions regularly. A lot more recently since I've been cooped up in the house. So that's kind of was like,
Hmm.
how do you, I wanted to see if you do similar stuff. Like I deleted some apps just because I was just like, nope, I'm spending too much time on my phone. Gotta remove this app. Gotta remove the other app. Get rid of them until you're ready to go back.
Yeah, for sure. And I think one of the big things that's had quite a big impact on me recently is I recently got an iPad, so I could start writing like notes on my videos essentially and do animations because I'm trying to copy Live Overflow and hope he doesn't notice and sue me. Um, but for like having the iPad, which literally just has work stuff on it, has been huge for me because I'm not really checking Twitter because if I'm on the iPad, okay, I am like working on a video
Right.
or I'm like noting down whatever I have to do that day. I'm not sitting there using it as kind of a browsing tool. It is a work tool, and that really helps to have that kind of work device,
Yeah.
even if it does have the temptation there.
The
It's been a huge
disconnect.
help for me.
Yeah, the disconnect and the balance is what's probably helping a lot. To know this is work, not for personal stuff. Your phone is for personal stuff, whatever that is.
Yeah, pretty
Um.
much. And then on top of that, it's having like separate work laptop to. I mean, I have a work laptop because I like my PhD I have a PhD laptop, and then having my actual personal computer
Yeah.
has been a huge help too.
Do you deal with imposter syndrome at all?
Oh yeah, for sure. Like I don't think you can really escape doing something like YouTube and not feel like a complete fraud.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because
Preach.
this I got like 17,000 subscribers, and I constantly think to myself, why do they
Why did I get
glowing
myself into
recommendations for
this?
myself?
Yeah. How do you deal with
Um,
it?
so quite a lot of it is getting away from the constant positive. It sounds really weird. Constant positivity can be quite bad for your mental health because you get to a point where you don't really believe it
Mm-hmm.
because oh they're just being nice to me because they want I don't know something out of me. They're just being nice to me because of the fact I've got like some measure of
Yeah.
internet fame. They're just being nice to me because of this and this. They don't actually feel like my accomplishments are worth anything. So the first thing is kind of limiting the overexposure to people who just say constant nice things. And it's probably true. I have a lot of people who follow me now. A lot of those people probably do think I'm really great and really like what I produce and think my videos are great. But to hear that constantly is just very it's very much to me gets into a point of being like, oh god, I'm a fraud and they're gonna all find out and they're all gonna hate me in a few months. So quite a lot of it is like not being too overexposed to some too much positive, but also just doing like self affirmations of, you know what, not all of my videos are good, some of them are bad, and
Yeah.
they're not like bad as in incorrect, they're just poorly produced. And people like them regardless of the fact that they're bad, not because they think I'm amazing, but because they think the content is genuinely useful. And, just because I don't feel like I know anything, that's because the people I see and the people that I kind of look up to are the people who are like far better than me, right?
Yeah.
There's this great image that's like success is an iceberg, and we really only see people's successes, especially on social media. Social media is great at that one.
Uh,
But actually, we don't see their failures, the time they put into things. They're like every single time something doesn't go right for them. It's
yeah.
also just remembering that.
It's not always rainbows and sunshine, right? It's days of multiple days of grinding. I mean, just because someone's doing really good in 2020 doesn't mean in 2014, 2015 they weren't struggling every day trying to find a bug, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I
It takes
think,
time.
especially, you see, yeah, I was just awarded insanely high number on HackerOne. It's really easy to go, why aren't I getting that? When
Hmm.
really we should be celebrating even if our small successes. We shouldn't be going, oh, I found a dupe, that's awful. We should be going, hey, that's great, I found a bug. Okay, I wasn't getting paid for the bug because it was a duplicate. That just means I wasn't fast enough. Not that I wasn't good enough. It just means that next time I will be faster. Next time I will find that bug before anybody else. And letting ourselves celebrate those little successes,
Yeah.
not just when we earn millions of dollars.
Yeah. What about burnouts? Have you felt any burnouts, especially given the more work you've been doing lately?
Oh yeah, I think burnout, if you work like a crazy schedule, like let's say you do YouTube and bug bounties and also try and do a PhD at the same time, it's really easy to burn yourself out.
Mm.
And that's been me like several times in the past few months, especially with COVID and like the overall like mental overload that is reading the news nowadays
Okay.
and how awful everything is, on top of like the mental fatigue of working. It definitely has gotten to points for me where I felt really burnt out. And what I've done is I've just had to say, okay, I need to take a step back. Like I need to take a break from YouTube. I need to take a break from doing bug bounties. I've now scaled back some of my bug bounty stuff so I can focus on YouTube because I think that there's quite a lot of value that I'm giving people on YouTube and I'm really enjoying that even more than I was enjoying doing bug bounties in some ways, as much as I was doing to try and keep up to date with everything. So certainly scaling back what I can scale back and really focusing on what I think is the most important and what's actually giving me value.
Yeah.
Like reading the news every day when it stresses me out is not giving me value. That's really giving me more stuff to worry about than I need to. So I just start reading the news. If it's important, I'll find out about it eventually. But it doesn't mean I have to be constantly like reading the news and just getting myself stressed out, or it doesn't mean I have to constantly be doing bug bounties to feel like I'm a hacker. I can like do that occasionally, and that's why I'm an occasional bug bounty hunter.
Well, how do you balance, like, your work, your content, your bug hunting to avoid burnouts? What are some things you do when you feel like, do you recognize when you're getting burnt out, or are you like me, like it's too late already, you're burnt out and you disappear for a while?
I definitely have found sort of both. Like
Okay.
sometimes I know where I'm feeling burnt out, and then sometimes I'm just like, wow, I'm stressed, and I'm like, hang on a second, I'm burnt out, and I have been for a while, and I just didn't notice. Um, Quite a lot of what I do in terms of managing my workload is one, try and balance what's called deep work and shallow work. Anybody who's read the book about deep work will know the difference. But in case you haven't, and I'm sure not everybody here reads business books for fun, but the idea is that deep work is your cognitively demanding work. It's the hacking, while shallow work is the less cognitively demanding work. Doesn't mean it's not work. It just means it's less cognitively demanding. So it's reading emails, replying to emails. It might be in terms of hacking, learning a new tool might be quite shallow work for you, but actually hacking something is quite deep. It requires a lot of focus. So it's not just getting to, or taking breaks as from working, it's also managing that percentage of deep work to shallow work and making sure that you're not only doing deep work, because if you do that, you get burnt out, you get tired. And if you only do shallow work, you feel like you haven't contributed anything, you feel unmotivated, you feel lazy. Even if you're not necessarily being lazy, it feels like you are. Now, that's one part of it, is managing both deep work and shallow work. The next is I'm a big fan of another business book called Getting Things Done, The Art of Stress-Free Productivity. And one of the ways that you manage your work with getting things done is by having a flowchart that kind of dictates where new items go. So if someone says, oh, Katy, can you do this? I instantly can kind of tell where it needs to fall. Like, is this something where I need to do it now? Is this something that I can defer until for a few days until I feel like I have the space and the time to do it? And it's just taking lots of breaks. It's realizing I'm stressed, I'm burnt out, I'm just going to play video games for a few hours.
Yeah.
There is no shame in taking a break and wasting time. You do not need to be productive 100% of the time. But when you are being, like, when you have devoted your time to being productive, that's when you have to be productive. Not on the off, like, I finish work at 5 p.m. and I sit and relax. I play The Sims, play a lot of The Sims.
Yeah, I did the same
and
thing.
that helps me
Almost.
de-stress.
Wait, is that Brocious? It is. I can't believe I missed the beginning of this. Two of my favorite people. Dakin is in the chat. What up, Dakin? Missed you. Cool. What games do you play since you mentioned video games? The Sims?
I play a lot of The Sims, play a lot of Animal Crossing. Very, very stereotypical girl game. I really like a good simulation game. I don't know what it's like. It's just making people's lives perfect is just. I like city builders as well, and anything where I get to make something absolutely perfect. So yeah, I play a lot of The Sims. I don't play that many games at the moment, having a bit of a kind of not really felt like it. But definitely, like, I play a lot of Diablo 3 as well. That's the kind of game where you just mentally zone out and you just press the button. Don't need to think. Just press the buttons.
Do you have any advice for people that are just getting started into bug bounties?
Yeah, the first is to subscribe to my YouTube.
Go subscribe, like and follow.
Yeah, press the bell icon. For serious advice, it's just start hacking. You know, you can really get into a point where you're like, oh, I need to learn this and I need to learn that. Guarantee anybody who's watching your stream, who watches you regularly, likely has, like, by osmosis, gotten a lot of knowledge about how to find bugs using recon. And probably doesn't really need to be in a position where, like, oh, I can't hack. You can totally start hacking. As long as you know how to use, like, burp and you understand how the web works, you can start hacking. There's nothing stopping you from finding your first bug like I did without having that much experience and like this great like breadth of knowledge. The next is to learn the very simple vulnerabilities. Your first bug is not going to be an RCE. It's not going to be an SSRF. It's likely going to be a terrible bug. And it's fine. Everyone starts somewhere. You know, just it doesn't have to be a technically complex bug. And it doesn't even need to be like a technically complex bug that that like is like, oh, that's the only way I'm going to find a bug because everything else is dupes. You'd be surprised how much low-hanging fruit there is out there. And I should know, I've built my entire bug bounty career on low-hanging fruit at this point. But there's other things you can do, like if you really are worried about competition, learning something like mobile hacking can be a huge advantage. You don't have to, but it can be a huge advantage. And yeah, just you're probably ready. Just take the plunge, start hacking like today. There's nothing stopping you apart from you telling yourself you aren't good enough. And trust me, you're probably good enough.
Yeah, I just pulled up your YouTube channel on the screen too so people can see. If you are watching this on YouTube or you're watching it right now, just look for Insider PhD on YouTube and make sure you push her to get to 20K. Yes,
please do, because I have like a bunch of things to hand out, like prizes and stuff, and I'm gearing up for celebrating 20K.
Awesome.
But I will say, Insider PhD, insider threat, not inside A, and PhD as in the academic qualification, not the programming language.
Yeah, and then we have it in the commands too. Someone's going to drop the guest command and they can find it. Tell me about one last thing I want to ask you before we go to the fun portion of this. Did you have any mentors, inspiration for either content, bug bounty, hacking? It doesn't have to be direct mentorship. Anybody that indirectly helped you get started, or directly, however you want to answer that.
Oh my God, there's so many. I mean, Dakin, Sarah, who was formerly known as Cody, was just incredible, like, to the start of my bug bounty career.
Happens to be in the chat right now too.
Yes, I really I really am thankful for her mentorship. Like she's been incredible just getting me starting out, um, and helped me at both London and Vegas. Going on to like people I look up to, like I am unashamed to say that I look up to so many great bug bounty hunters. Um, the big one, Dawn Isabel, an amazing iOS bug hunter. She did a talk at Level Up about Frida and like getting Frida set up, and it just blew my mind. I've chatted to her so many times, and she's just an amazing hacker. Everyone at HackerOne, like there's so many people who are like either part of the events team or just wider in HackerOne who have really supported me. Like part of the reason why I really love hacking on HackerOne is because they have like I didn't have a YouTube channel by chance. Like it was getting invited to those HackerOne events that really
Right.
pushed me to make my content and getting invitations to go and speak and them putting in a lot of faith when I was just first starting out, um, to actually believe in my content. And like I also just less of a mentorship thing, more of other people I look up to. Live Overflow is one of my huge kind of like I joke that I want to rip off his videos, but I love the way he presents his videos, and it's such a big inspiration to how I want to produce my content. But also, every lecture I've ever had that's inspired me is the kind of what I want to be. Like I think about the university lecturers that I had that I thought were amazing and great and
Yeah.
brilliant, and I want to create. I want to create lectures essentially. My videos are lectures. I'm tricking people into thinking they're entertainment. They're lectures that inspire people like that. And everybody who watches me, I've been a big inspiration because when people find their first bug and tag me, it makes me so, so happy. I love it when people have said that my content or other people's like plus mine has been a huge help
Yeah.
for them to find their first bug or find or get a bounty or they share that with me. It gives me all the warm and fuzzies inside.
Yeah, it's a good feeling to know you've had an impact on someone.
It really has.
Yeah. Um, Let me open up. I know some people send us questions under the post we made on Twitter, and I want to make sure we talk about it. A few of these. Some of them are very, very non-related, but I think we've asked a bunch of these about life balance. I just want to make sure I ask everything. While I look through this, Ash, I don't know if you're in the chat, but here's your question that you always ask. Where do you see the bug bounty scene headed in the next 3 to 5 years? What's your take on it?
So I think that we are going to see several things happen. One is that right now India is kind of like becoming a really big deal in the bug bounty community. I think right now we hear from a lot of people from the West, but actually I think the Indian bug bounty community is just going to get stronger and stronger.
Mm.
Like I think we'll see a lot of Indian YouTubers pop up, for example, and really start to make the same kind of impact for that community and really start inspiring people in India. Now, as for like bug bounties as a whole, I think automation right now is becoming really big. People
Yeah.
love automation. I'm going to make a very bold prediction. The automation I think will actually start to die down a little bit. I think it's on a bit of a hype at the moment, like it's up there on the hype. But I think next few years, I think we'll see kind of perhaps a bit of a renaissance of people like me who could love a good manual hacking. Um, and perhaps we'll see people kind of end up going, oh, plus like let's go on the other side. Now manual hacking will be really big, and then automation will make a comeback. Um, but it's so hard. Like a few years ago, bug bounties didn't even exist. Like we wouldn't be having this conversation, because bug bounties weren't a thing.
Yeah.
Um, and it's really hard to predict what a community that's really kind of new in InfoSec is going to end up being. I definitely think we'll see more bug bounty programs. I mean, I hope so anyway, because that gives me more things to hack. Um, and the kind of rise of communities like in India, where we're just really seeing it start to take off, is really start to have more established. Um, and then yeah, I think we'll see manual hacking and automation kind of swap over a little bit, but that's just a bold prediction on my account. I don't have any information to back that one up.
You don't do a lot of automation, you said?
I do some, but not that much. Not nearly as much as some other people do. Like I don't use any of like the automated tools to find bugs. I don't trust them.
What do you automate usually?
Mostly it's API recon, just to test like a bunch of words. Especially when you deal with RESTful APIs. So for those who don't really know, RESTful APIs tend to be in this kind of very structured format, which is usually API slash version slash word. So it's really difficult to do recon on because you basically need to try every word in the dictionary.
Mm-hmm.
So quite a lot of it, and the tools I'm working on in the kind of automation of that is making intelligent word lists. So that's basically what I automate, and it's using my own tools, which have not been released because they have issues. Machine learning is not all it's cracked up to be, I gotta say.
Fair enough. All right, let's jump into the second portion. I don't know if you've watched the previous interviews, but I usually end each interview with a small game where the first portion of it, ask you a bug bounty related question about your experience, and then the second portion of it, I give you a word, and you tell me the first thing that pops up into your mind.
Okay.
They're usually super easy, and they're about you and the things that you have talked about during the interview. But let's start with so if you had to hack on one program for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Verizon. I like the
Verizon Media.
I like the yeah. Okay. I like the different kind of apps there are out there. Like I don't like that it's all the same app. There's a lot of like different things you can hack on.
Fair enough. What was the first bug bounty program you got to hack on? They got a valid
Uber.
Do you remember your first bug type that you found?
iDoor. Yeah, it was the iDoor first.
Do you remember the bounty?
$1,000. I remember it was at the live event. I remember a member of the triage team coming over to me and saying, "Katy, I've got something to tell you." I'm like, "Oh my god, what is it?" And he goes, "You've got a bounty," and I basically freaked out.
That's really awesome. Do you remember what you did with that bounty? Anything you celebrated or did something fun with?
I bought yarn with it.
You bought what?
Because it was lucky yarn. I bought wool. It was lucky socks that got me the bug. It was lucky socks that I was going to make afterwards.
Any big accomplishments that was done because of your bug bounties? Like anything you had on your bucket list that you wanted to do that was done because of your work with bug bounties?
Not money-wise. I got a job recently because of my experience with bug bounties and doing YouTube.
That's awesome. Any hackers you collaborate with they want to give a shout out to?
Ooh.
Naturally, Dakin comes to mind, but who else?
So I've hacked with quite a few people.
Okay.
I'm not sure I want to shout them out because they are kind of people who like to fly under the radar. But I do want to give a shout out to generally all of the hackers who aren't big names on like Twitter or YouTube or whatever, who kind of aren't the people getting, millions of dollars, who do it kind of part-time, who make a decent income on it, but who don't like to shout it from the rooftop. So just shout out to everybody who just does that kind of low-key part of bug bounty hunting.
Well, then how about hackers you want to collaborate with that you want to shout?
Oh, okay. Okay. There's quite a few people who I think are like really cool and kind of low-key. Like I'd love to go with Jesse, aka Random Deduction, and Alex Chapman, who are on the same team. They're great. I'd love to collab with Dawn because she's just an amazing, inspirational person. Yeah. Kind of not people you perhaps like know of and go, oh yeah, that one hacker. But yeah. I really like the low-key people. The low-key people are cool. I love to collaborate with Tom as well, just because I think he's really cool. Yeah. And he's super friendly.
Yeah, he's one of the most genuine people I've met so far in the community.
Oh, for sure. Easily.
I was going to ask your favorite tool, but I assume it's just going to be Burp and Fuff.
Burp, 100% Burp, easy choice.
Any Burp extensions that you like? Do you want to name any that you rely on heavily?
Don't really use a lot of extensions. I think that Turbo Intruder is very cool and definitely something that I really want to play around with more than I already have. I don't really use a lot of tools. I really do just very basic.
There's nothing wrong with it. I did the same thing with Burp. I have almost 0 extensions that I rely on. I may have them, but I don't never use them, to be honest. Nothing wrong with that. Let's get into the second portion of it, where I give you a word and you tell me what comes into your mind. Let's kick it off with Dakin.
Friendly.
PhD.
Hard.
Integrity.
Love.
HackerOne.
Also love.
YouTube.
Difficult.
Live Overflow.
Inspo.
Bug Bounties.
Cool.
Live hacking events.
Amazing.
Recon.
Ugh.
Is that your reaction? Is that your answer? The ugh.
Okay. Yeah, UGHHH.
And last but not least, Verizon Media.
Awesome.
Well, again, this is Katy, also known as Insider PhD. I'm going to drop her information in the chat. You also see it right above me right here, right now, somewhere. I'm going to copy paste it. Give her a follow. Let's push her to get to 20K. There we go. I want to say thank you for joining me today, and it was awesome to have you on the show.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me. It's been great. Thank you, everybody, for listening to me. I really appreciate you spending your time listening to me instead of something else you could be doing.
Of course.
And thank you very much for having me.
Thanks so much. We'll talk soon. Bye.
Right, bye.
An interview. That was great. Been wanting to get Katy on this show for a while. I'm so glad that we got to have her on. I'm a little hungry, so what I'm going to do is we're going to go and raid a fellow hacker on Twitch. If there is anybody streaming any hacking right now. You guys know the drill, right? If we drop into a channel, I need you to use spam those Naomi emotes that we have. So I'm going to go for a raid, go get me some food, but I need you guys, so when we get in there, when we get into the raid, spam with those emotes. Let's show them some love. This is a new streamer that only has a few viewers right now. They're doing some ethical hacking. Spam whatever NahamSec emote you want. But let's show up. Let's show them who we are and support their channel, and make sure you at least follow them, okay? As always, I appreciate you guys. I may be online tomorrow. I'm not sure. If I am, you will see it in Discord. So make sure you go and check out my Discord so you get notified when I'm live. That's it. I love you guys. Thank you for hanging out with me. I will be back later. Peace.